All right, let's start with Clay Hall and Steve Hellwagon on deck. Clay.
Yes, sir. Kyle, do you feel like you or the team, the coaches, are managing your workload? Are you kind of where you should be? Would you like to be more active, play more, or as you manage your situation, what do you think there?
Yeah, no, I think we're going about it the right way. With practices every day. Especially like with the whole team. We're doing what we need to get our bodies right throughout this stretch of games and stuff like that. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go Steve Hellwagon with Griffin Strom on deck. Steve.
Hey, Kyle, you guys played Wisconsin once already, and getting into that part now where you're starting to have some replay games. I think your next 3 Big Ten games are all teams you've already played. You've been through this 4 years now. Just what happens the second time around, or even the third time around, like you had in the tournament? What changes, just in a general sense? And then, secondly, what do you see out of them? They haven't lost a game since they lost to you guys.
Yeah, I would say what changes is just kind of like attention to detail. You're going to know more about the team the second time you play them, especially as you've seen them play a few more times. Their prep for us is going to be more detailed. They're going to have a better plan against us, as we're hoping to have a better plan against them as well. And like you said, they're playing really well right now. The 4-1 Big Ten. So, we're excited for this game. They're a really good team, and that we know they're going to be ready to play. So we're going to do our best to be ready as well.
You're an older guy on the team. Do you have to explain to the younger guys, first of all, about going to the Kohl Center, very tough place to play, although I think you've won a game there. And then secondly, not to take it real seriously, that the first game kind of got away from them. It was an 18-point game, and they're a much better team than that. Sometimes human nature with the younger players, they may not take that seriously. I don't know. What do you say to those young guys about those two things?
Yeah, kind of with each game, we try to relay to the younger guys, when we're on the road, even home games, but especially on the road, going to a place like Wisconsin, it's tough to play on the road. It's going to be loud. They're going to have a lot of energy there. They play well at home. So those are definitely things, we relay to the young guys, so they know. And I think our young guys, are getting much more mature, and, they understand that, they're playing well. So, we kind of try to leave that message with them, but I think they're doing a great job handling that, when we go on the road.
Thank you.
Griffin, you're up with Colin on deck. Griffin Strom.
Hey, Kyle. So, you've obviously been coming off the bench, this season, but you got back in the starting lineup the other day. And I'm just wondering, did that change anything for you, or what's your preference in that regard? And, do you prefer to, get going right away? And how does that, change the way you approach things?
Yeah, I don't think it really changed much for me. I try to keep the same approach every game, although, starting the games right off the jump, you got to be ready. You don't really have time to watch the game, feel it out at all, stuff like that. But no preference on my end. If coach calls my number, wants me to start, I'm going to be ready. But, in terms for me, it's just whenever coach needs me, I'm going to be ready to play.
And then, last game against Wisconsin, I think they're starting bigs, Wall and Crowell. I think they only combined for like 3 points and 3 rebounds, something like that. What did you guys do so well against them, and how can you replicate that on Thursday?
Just a lot of our, gameplay and not wanting, them to get, big offensive rebounds, stuff like that, which they've done well at times this season. So, it's attention to detail for us, doing the things, that we work on in scout teams, stuff like that. They're going to be physical. They're going to play hard. So we just got to try our best to, outwork them and play a little bit more physical, kind of set the tone.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to go Colin Gay and Jacob Bench on deck. Colin.
Hey, Kyle, I was just curious. You said the attention to detail with like heading into the second game is a little bit different. What on film do you see like differently out of Wisconsin? Like what details are you kind of honing in on during this road matchup as opposed to last time?
So we could talk specifics, but I would just say like, learning more about them, through this last stretch they've had, even with like, I think yesterday we talked about, Brad Davidson's putting up about like 7 attempts a game from 3. So, staying locked in on him. He's a really good shooter. They have a bunch of other good shooters as well. And then keeping them off the O boards because, that's been something for us we've struggled with this season. So we've been focusing on, being able to get our defensive rebounds, not really let teams get extra possessions. So I would say that's one of the things, we try to key in on, with every game moving forward. But, this next game especially.
And one of the things, I mean, Griffin kind of mentioned this already, but I'm curious, it seemed like the last Wisconsin game, the bigs kind of you guys came into your own a little bit. And I'm curious is there more pressure knowing what you did last time against Wisconsin, knowing what, say you and Zed, and like you guys were able to dominate down low. Is that kind of a pressure going into this game, or is it kind of just you're hoping for a continuation on what you did last time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say really too much pressure. We're going to hopefully, continue that and do what we did last time, but we know it's not going to come easy. They got tough bigs, and, we have to come out, like I said, and be the more ready team, to be honest. And we also do know, we're aware that like it'll be important for the game, for us to succeed. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Jacob Benj is up with Patrick Murphy on deck. Jacob.
Hey, Kyle, I was curious about the 3-week layoff your team went through in December, and with you missing the game at Nebraska, just how do you feel you and the team have handled the protocols in place this season to kind of combat the virus, just compared to last season and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've handled it well. The coaches did a good job, preparing us these last few games. It was kind of a slow process getting back into it. Anytime you have a layoff like that where guys, kind of have to sit out, can't do much. It's hard on your body because it's hard to get that back quick. So I think we're at a point now, where we're getting back into a rhythm with practice, how we work every day. But, it was definitely tough. Anytime you have to miss time is, never going to be like 100% good thing. But, I think we've been able to manage it well, coaches and players.
And with, Chris Holtmann's talked a lot about the team's conditioning and getting back into the rhythm of things. Your team's going to play 3 games in 5 days coming up. How do you see the team's conditioning at this point in time? And do you think it'll be a challenge playing that many games in 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a challenge just because, it is a lot of games, they're very competitive, high level games. But, I think our conditioning is, getting back to a point, where we're going to be comfortable playing again, at the level we want to play. So, just game by game, I think that's just going to get better. So, that starts with us working every day in practice, even today, the day before the game. So just got to keep putting in that work and building that back up.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go Patrick Murphy and finish up with Adam Jardy. Patrick.
Hey, Kyle, Coach Diebler pretty well. I'm curious how you saw him handle things differently, really the whole staff handle things differently without Coach Holtmann, Coach Peden last game, and even in the build-up to that game.
Yeah, I mean, he was incredible. Coach Deeb, he's an awesome dude, awesome coach. He knows his stuff. So, we still had Coach Holtmann and Coach Pito, roped in on stuff and, helping us with prep and stuff like that. But, Diebler was really able to step up and, get us ready for that game. And I really think he did a good job with that.
And I know Coach Peden's kind of your offensive coordinator, for lack of a better term, and you guys have one of your best offensive performances without him there. What do you guys credit to that? And do you need him to sit at home more often to kind of explode offensively?
Coach Nettie did a lot, with helping us prepare for, that game offensively. Like I said, Coach Peden was still roped in, but, a lot of it is just, them, getting us ready from before. It's just been a process, an everyday process. So, by the time they were out, we already kind of were getting in a rhythm and, knew our stuff and, kind of knew what coach wanted. So Coach Peden, did a great job, this whole season and just getting us ready for that moment. But, Coach Nettie did a good job stepping up as well.
And then we'll finish up with Adam Jardy. Go ahead, Adam.
Kyle, one of the consistent talking points after that game was that if there was any team that was equipped to handle this situation, it was you guys because of your veteran leadership and experience. And all the coaches have spoken about the captains and how important they were. where do you think you are in this building of a program here at Ohio State since you've been here, that you're capable of taking on something like that? And you're one of the guys that helps make it run. Because I've got to think back to like when you first got here, a situation like that would not have gone as well as it did for you guys. What is it about where this program is starting to get that you feel like you were able to take on a role and make that run even in such weird circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, just year after year, I think I've been able to, something I focus on is just trying to build my leadership role. The guys, I believe they trust in our captains, the leaders on this team that, we can lead them and, lead by example, and explain to them, the experiences we've had, kind of how things would go. So, just year after year, I think I've been able to, build that leadership role with this team. And that's credited to, coaches as well, getting us ready for that. And, all the experiences as well we've been through. I've been through a lot here. This is my 5th year. So just, you've seen a lot, you've been through a lot of situations, all that, can kind of prepare you for something like that, to just be ready to go out and play. Because at the end of the day, coaches, are going to do everything in their power to get us ready. And then when it comes to game time, we got to be ready to play and put it all on the line. So.
And you talked about having to take care of the glass against Wisconsin. And you talked about some of the rebounding issues you guys have had lately. When you give up offensive rebounds and when teams get a second possession or an extended possession, what sort of keys do you guys immediately have when you're scrambling and trying to get back into a defensive set or a defensive plan? What are the important things that you try to do when they get an offensive rebound and a possession continues?
Yeah, I mean, so when it gets to that point, it's just something about basketball. When you give up an offensive rebound, there's always, there's going to be some type of play that happens. But, for us, it's just to continue playing. We don't want to stop the play just because, we give up an offensive rebound. We want to get back into our position, scramble out, find a defender, or find a guy to defend. But, for us, we got to limit those because, like I said, our numbers haven't been great coming back from that long stretch. We had off, we were kind of leaning in the better direction before our break, and then we came back and they kind of started diminishing a little bit. So in practice, we've been working on situations like that, with defensive rebounding and stuff like that, trying to limit those. But when it comes to them getting offensive rebound, just to keep playing, that stuff's going to happen in a basketball game. We're playing against high level competition, a lot of athletes. So just to keep playing, not let it get to you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Here we go. We'll start off with Steve Hellwagon and Patrick Murphy on deck. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, hey, Coach. First of all, I guess everyone's curious about what happened for you here in the last 6 or 7 days. But you're able to tell us about what happened and how difficult that was. I just wonder if there's a hole in the wall there in that room where you were watching that game as Northwestern kept flipping in one shot after another.
Yeah. It's that no question. That's not an easy thing, Steve, for sure. So, I think I don't mind telling you that I started to have some symptoms that I felt on Friday. Took a test, nothing after practice, just to make sure. Then Saturday, woke up with a fever and tested positive. And, so we were able to do practice, just put practice together on Saturday, met with the staff virtually. I wanted to do a PCR to confirm. Ryan Peden had told me earlier that morning that he had tested positive. So, we met as a staff, put the game plan together, organized what the next day was going to look like. So you're still really involved, obviously, in the day-to-day, really all the way leading up until tip. Met with the team virtually before, did our normal personnel reminders with the team, and then had the staff go through their things. And I thought Jake and Ryan and Tony did a tremendous job, and the support staff did a good job pitching in for that 24-hour period for sure.
Mm-hmm. Regarding Wisconsin, you've already played them one time. You get into that stretch where you're starting to do replays. They haven't lost a game since they lost to you guys on December 11. And it seemed in that game that it was Davis that kind of held them up and held them in it. I assume from your standpoint, they're getting more contributions from more people. What are you seeing out of them? I guess these last 5 or 6 games that have been, I mean, they've been on a bit of a run here.
They really have, Steve. It might have been as well as we played all year. I think you could certainly put that game up there with maybe the Duke and the Seton Hall games in terms of how well we played. You know, we have a really tough stretch here of next couple of days because we have a Wisconsin team followed by a Penn State team, and you could certainly argue that those are 2 of the hotter teams in the league right now. Penn State's won 3 of their last 4. They almost beat Purdue at home, or else they would have won 4 out of 4. So we have a quick turnaround with them on Saturday at noon, followed by a Wisconsin team that, as you mentioned, they've only lost once this year with Davis. They're All-American in the lineup, and that was at our place. So I just, got a lot of respect for them as a team. Greg's done a tremendous job with them this year. They're physical at home. They really rebounded. They had one of the great wins of the season at Purdue, which we all know is difficult to play there. And obviously you have Davis, who's emerged as a lottery pick, but they have other guys. But it does really begin and end with Davis and Davison for those guys. They've had a tremendous season thus far for sure. It's going to be as big a challenge as we played all year.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go Patrick Murphy with Griffin Strom on deck. Patrick.
Chris, I know with yourself being out, Ryan being out, you didn't have a ton of options, but what makes Jake Diebler a guy who can step in and lead the program when you're out for a game?
It was really it was an easy decision because of how much I think of Jake. But I don't, it was a collaborative effort. It really was. Mike Nettie had to take over for Ryan Peden's job. And we collaborate as a staff. There's not, obviously the head coach is always going to take the necessary blame for the losses. But any success we've had has been really a credit to, I think we have a really high quality staff. And there's no question that we have future head coaches on our staff, and Ryan and Jake and Tony are going to be those guys sooner rather than later. But I thought Mike Nettie as well as Tony really pitched in. But, Ryan obviously would have gotten that designation. But with him being out, Jake's the second most experienced on our staff. And, he's been a great hire for us.
And Jake talked to us after the game about just the amount of stuff you have to do to get ready, talking to the referees during the game to get explanation. I mean, stuff that I guess most people don't think about as a head coach. How valuable can even one game be for him, as you said, a guy who's probably going to be a head coach down the line, just to experience all that in a major game like that? Not, it wasn't a practice or something.
I think it really helps. It helps him, to have a fuller picture of kind of what all, I've always felt like in coaching, if you can, most every assistant wants to be the head coach or wants to be a head coach at some point, and they all understand that that's hopefully within their goals. But I've always felt like if throughout your early coaching career, if you could do every job from director of basketball operations or director of football operations to assistant coach to recruiting coordinator, it really allows you to see when you become a head coach, to see the job for what it is. And listen, there's a lot that goes on in a head coach's mind. And I've always said, being a head coach can bring your insecurities to the surface more than anything in life. And I think you have to be secure with who you are. You have to trust your players, trust your system. But for I think it's just a snippet, right? It's just one game. So I think, and there was a lot of, collaborative preparation leading up to that. But I think at the end of the day, personally, I think it can really help him moving forward for sure.
All right, we'll go Griffin Strom and Jacob Bench on deck. Griffin.
Hey, Coach, circling back to Davis for a second. Last time against you guys, he had 24 points and shot 50%, but he also went 2 for 7 from 3, and I don't even think he shot a free throw. So I'm just wondering, what did you like about the way you guys defended him, and what you think you can do better as well, perhaps?
Well, we did not defend him well early, and it's going to be a big challenge for Malachi. Malachi has to be better in this game, and it's a lot to ask of a freshman because he's going to be guarding an All-American and then hopefully he can continue to play at such a really, really high level that Malachi has played at. But it's a big challenge, and obviously he's got to respond to the game. Kind of the frustrating game he had right before Christmas. We played really, really well as a team. It was just one of the games where he struggled. But I think with a guy like Davis, it really is a collective team thing. He's so good at getting to his spots, and he's got such burst and athleticism, and he can make shots at all 3 levels that you just have to make it difficult for him. And then you have to eliminate some of the impact that the other guys have.
And then you talk about Malachi there. I'm just wondering, with this 3-game stretch he's on, how much it's made you more comfortable maybe with the idea that he could really be a second option for you guys. And especially, you talked early in the season about how, Justice was going to be a guy to potentially step in that, late game playmaking type of role. How much you think that Malachi is kind of proving to you that he can kind of fill some of that role himself?
Well, we designated that, really since the beginning of part of the season. I mean, our opening game, we ran an action for him when we needed a bucket. So this is not something that's just come upon us because of his scoring in the last, 3 games. Obviously, he started most every game. So we felt like that he could grow. Now, listen, it's not going to be, 35 one night, 24 the next night, every game, for Malachi. There's going to be ups and downs, but we really have a high level belief in what he can be. I'm a little bit hesitant to say, hey, this guy's going to be the number 2 or this guy's going to be the number 3. I think let's let that evolve and play out, because I think it could be different guys on different nights. We know that EJ will most nights be our leading scorer and the guy that we play through. And there are other guys that have emerged, but I don't think right now we're ready to say, okay, hey, it's definitely going to be this guy on this given night. I think we'll let guys continue to grow and evolve as players.
Thanks, Coach.
I'll go with Jacob Bench and Clay Hall on deck. Jacob.
Hey, Chris, we talked with Kyle earlier and just about the team's conditioning. It's been something you've talked a lot about this last week or two. And, with your team playing 3 games in 5 days coming up, just where have you seen the team's conditioning level and the preparedness to play that many games in this small of a stretch?
I think it's real. I think it's a real challenge because, I had a 20-minute workout yesterday and could feel it. And I'm certainly far from an elite athlete. I'm the opposite of what an elite athlete would be. Having said that, I do work out every now and then, and I felt differently. So I think it is a challenge coming those guys that came off the pause and that were not able to do anything, and that also, had COVID. And we tried to keep that relatively in-house, but you could probably speculate. So I think it is a challenge for us as a team collectively and individually. We're not there yet, but I think we're a little closer.
And just from a bigger picture point of view, with students returning to campus this week with the start of the spring semester, they see concessions are closed at games. They saw that you tested positive. I guess if you had a message to tell the students to, as they continue to test and combat the pandemic themselves, just maybe what would that be for the campus community?
I think just continue to follow the protocols that the university has in place. It has went through our team, but everybody's been fine. We've had we've had really limited symptoms. Now we're fully vaccinated as a team, but I believe every student is as well. I have my booster as well. I think just continue to follow the protocols. I think we all agree right now, or at least most of us do, that we're going to have to continue to live with this. And as much as we can do to mitigate it, let's do that. But I'm really glad that we have fans that our students showed up last game, that they're going to hopefully show up at noon on Saturday, because we desperately need them. We desperately need our fans. And I would I don't anticipate, we'll see what the numbers are like, but hopefully, the concessions will open up here at some point before the season ends.
Thank you.
Next up, Clay Hall and Colin Gay on deck. Clay.
Chris, one favor, could you tilt your device so you're a little bit further up in the screen, because I don't want to cover up your face on television with that name. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Don't want to violate your HIPAA rights, but how did you conquer COVID? I mean, were there home remedies, chicken soup? How did you come around to it? If you could share that.
Yeah, Clay, it did not hit me. I did have a fever, slight fever. Now I just recently gotten my booster. So, I wonder, I know the boosters affected some people, but I had a slight fever. I've had a little bit of trouble sleeping, but that could be, I have trouble sleeping in season anyway.
Sure.
It did not affect me all that much. And, I think my wife snuck down in the basement and grabbed that video of me watching the game the other night and sent it to Joe Gemma. I think you could see I was feeling fine and energized. But I'm definitely following the protocols of when we can return, and I'll be able to return to the team tomorrow morning.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Sure thing, Clay.
All right, we'll go Colin Gay with Spencer Holbrook on deck. Colin.
Hey, Chris. The Wisconsin game on December 11th was one of, your bigs were very consistent. Whether it was Zed, whether it was EJ down low getting offensive boards, whether it was Kyle kind of more in a defensive role. And I'm curious about, as you watch film of that game, as you prepare for another battle with Wisconsin, how much do you take in that? Is that encouraging to you? What does that, performance do in terms of your confidence moving into this next game?
Well, I think when we've been good, our bigs have been good and physical. And I would say EJ as a forward's been physical, and Zed's been physical. When we've not been good, we've not been very physical. And I thought we had good physicality. We had our poorest defensive rebounding efforts in 4 years against Northwestern. So that in our defense in general needs to get much better. But I thought our physicality on the offensive end was really good. And it needs to continue to be that way, because we've been at our best. And like I said, the Wisconsin game here, we were really good on that end.
And I know, a starting lineup really doesn't. You rotate players in and out, whether it's Zed, whether it's Kyle. But I'm curious, is that something that you want to continue to see Kyle in the starting lineup, or is it going to be fluid? Or
they play two forwards. Northwestern plays two forwards, so we talked about it as a staff, and I just felt like that was a better matchup. They play two forwards, and then they bring off a big guy off the bench, so that we felt like it'd be a better matchup across the board for our personnel. That's why we did that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go Spencer Holbrook, Stephen Means on deck. Spencer.
Chris, I guess for clarity's sake, maybe for just myself, are you traveling with the team, or are you going to travel separately and get up there tomorrow morning and be with them after that?
So we've done everything virtually, meetings, met with the team yesterday, met with the staff throughout both days. We put practice together like we normally would. Everything's been virtually. And then the staff has run practice yesterday and today. And then I will travel there tomorrow morning and meet the team.
Okay. And then, well, thank you for clarifying. And then when you are at home watching a game and probably not something you've ever experienced or wanted to experience, and you probably don't want to do it again, does that give you a little bit more appreciation for what you do and being on the sidelines? Do you kind of look at it now, or are you not allowing yourself to do that and just kind of focusing on what's ahead right now?
Well, it makes me really appreciate good players. That's what it makes me really appreciate. That the start that EJ had. I think was great because it relaxed our coaching staff. And it certainly relaxed the head coach at home too.
All right, we'll finish the last two here. Stephen Means and Adam Jardy. Go ahead, Stephen.
Chris, also just for more clarity, is Peden also on the same timeline as you? Should we expect to see him back on the sideline tomorrow?
Yeah, that's right, Stephen. He's same time. We both had symptoms at the same day.
Okay.
So we which was last week. Yes.
Okay. And then just to touch on Malachi again, obviously, I think most people would have expected him to be on this timeline of at this point in the season is when he starts to get comfortable as a scorer at this level, as he kind of figured out where he could get his shots at. I mean, 35 points is not real every single night. 24 points is probably not even real. But what's a realistic expectation for a guy like that as he starts to come into his own here as you get into the meat of the Big Ten schedule?
I mean, look around college basketball right now, as you know, Stephen, and everybody on this call knows. I mean, look at people in our league right now. We have 2 freshmen on our team that were in the top 3 in freshman minutes played in our league, in Malachi and Michi. So the fact that just shows you how hard it is to play as a freshman, and then certainly to have some of the numbers, especially on a good team, to have some of those numbers. So I don't anticipate, again, I don't think it's realistic to expect those numbers to continue. There'll be nights where he struggles. There'll be nights where it's not his night, and he's got to learn from that and continue to grow. The Wisconsin game, again, we're looking at, he had 4 turnovers, didn't score. I look at him that night and say, man, he's, at that point after that game, I said, Malachi is a really good player. And that was one of the games that he struggled. It just wasn't his night. We know what he can do. I think we believe in what he can be.
All right, and we'll finish up with Adam Jardy. Go ahead, Adam.
Chris, there's been a constant theme since the Northwestern game about how the fact that you guys were able to weather this storm is a credit to the leadership that you've built, the upperclassmen that you have. Jake talked about how it was the ultimate credit to what you've been building because the program was able to sustain itself even in your absence. Do you get a feeling for that, or does what you guys went through say something about what you've been trying to build and where you think this program is 5 years into your time here?
Well, I appreciate Jake saying that. I don't want to make too much of one game because it was a home game coming off a loss where we struggled in the last 10 minutes. And I think we had a motivated group, Adam, in that moment. You don't want to make too much of one game or not. But, I would certainly hope that if my absence was an extended absence, God forbid, if my absence was an extended absence, that there would be, I think that's when you really get a sense of how healthy the culture is. And I believe we have a very, very healthy culture. And I believe that because I think we have exceptional people as upperclassmen and as captains and as staff guys who are aligned in terms of what we believe is most important and how we believe coaching should be. So, I hope that's the case. I would hope that if there was an extended absence that we could continue to grow. And I think that's what we're trying to do right now. Not be perfect, but continue to grow. So, I was glad to see. I think those guys too had, those upperclassmen had an alertness to them that they, coming off the Indiana game, they just wanted to play better. And I think that was, they had a good way about them for sure.
And then slightly different topic, but I was asking Kyle about this. You both touched on some of the rebounding issues and trying to cut down on second chance opportunities. He talked a little bit about keys and what you try to do when you're in a scramble situation. But as you've looked at when teams have gotten second chance opportunities, have there been common threads, or can you maybe try to quantify how much better teams shoot when they get a second opportunity against you guys?
Oh, it's a great question because I'm sure there are numbers on that. And, we've all watched college basketball enough here to know when you give up second chance, it more often results in something, a scramble situation, a wide open look. And I'm telling you, it is almost like every time that thing's going down. And we just have to be better. Again, we had a lot going on Sunday, but to have one of our worst defensive performance or rebounding performances in 4 years, it's a challenge for us. We have to be better in that area. And we've had some really good moments defensively this year, but that wasn't one of our better ones. We were phenomenal offensively that night. So I think our rebounding defensively is at the top. That and just making better decisions with the ball. I think those are our two things that we've talked about these last couple of weeks. We have to get better at.
And can you give us any status update on just, I guess, the state of the roster, how full strength you'll be, if there's updates on Seth or Justice? We haven't seen Seth in the last 2 games.
Yeah. So Seth and Justice there's no immediate update on them. They're both continuing to make progress. Adam and they're doing a little more each time I see them. So Justice has done a little more this week than what he did last week in terms of being active. He's moving around. He's doing some light workouts. So he's getting closer, but we don't expect to have him for Thursday or Saturday at noon. He or Seth.
Thank you.
All right, Coach. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure Coach had his signals crossed there. I haven't been told that we're switching to Saturday to Sunday. We still got Penn State Sunday at noon, and then it's next Saturday at home against Nebraska. All right. I don't know if I got anything else. Anybody else has any questions?
So will we not have another one of these before the Sunday game?
So my thought moving forward, now that we're starting to creep into these Saturday or Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday sort of things, I want to try to have Coach Holtmann talk middle of the week, and then obviously he's going to talk after every game, and then try to get an assistant coach and a player via Zoom either Friday or Saturday. But I kind of hate Zoom Saturdays. Do you guys like Zoom Saturdays or no?
I don't love Zoom Saturdays personally.
I don't really either. I don't know if Friday is a better day coming off that Thursday game.
Saturdays are fine. I mean, as long as there's availability, like whether
Yeah.
it's Zoom or in person, like Saturdays are better. I mean, for those of us that are traveling back from games, like the day after a game could be tough.
Yep. I know Saturdays are tough. Now, like the end of the year between Michigan State and Michigan, I certainly am going to have Coach Holtmann talk about the seniors leading into Michigan game and that. But just trying to mix it up and get the assistants out there too. And I know the arena always has stuff going on the weekends leading into either hockey or stuff.